What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be deep diving into a highly debated topic, which is the use of the printing pod early game and whether or not your best return of investment is on using the pod as a light source for a free bristleberry farm or using the light source to light your research stations. And I'm going to go through the math to the best of my ability. I've spent a good amount of time trying to run the numbers on this with the help of a couple different AI models as well. And it's not to say that one way is better than the other. I think that they both serve their own purpose. And at the end of the day, you do what you enjoy and you do what works for you. Hopefully, I don't make any mistakes, but it's entirely possible because there's a lot of variables and different numbers. But let's get into it. When you spawn, the printing pod is a free light source. Now, some players like to park their early research under it for free speed, while others like to wrap the pod in Bristle Blossoms for free food. Today, I want to settle this with numbers. Same light, two options. We'll define the variables, show the math, and give you a decision rule you can use on basically any map. So what exactly does light do to research? A research station with a new scientist, let's say science 0, no room bonus and no light, takes 15 seconds to make one novice point. That's from the station's dirt consumption rate, 50 kilograms per point at 3.33 kilograms per second, which equates to 15 seconds. So here's the trick. From what I've read, oxygen not included gives research buildings a hidden plus 200% base. So because of that, the 15% lit workspace you see in the UI is effectively only 5% for research buildings. And the same goes for the laboratory rooms. The listed plus 15 is effectively plus 3.33. So the real measured effect of putting research under the pod's light is plus 5% speed, which is 0.75 seconds saved per point. And that's it. So we're going to use this 0.75 seconds a point moving forward in our equations. Okay, but how many points is early game? So instead of hard coding a patch sensitive tech list, use this calculator mindset. You add up the points you plan to do, let's say in the first 20 to 40 cycles, and then multiply it by 0.75 seconds. An example to make this tangible, we can assume kind of like a light tech path, maybe basic farming, meal prep, advanced research, power regulation. So let's say 120 novice plus maybe 10 advanced points, which equals around 130 points early game. So the time saved by pod lighting equals 130 times 0.75 seconds, which equals 1.6 minutes. Now, if we wanted to do a heavier path, let's add sanitation and maybe some adjacent unlocks. Let's bump it up to 170 to 200 points, in which case the time saved would be 2.1 to 2.5 minutes. So basically every 100 points under a pod light saves you 75 seconds. So now let's look at what does light do for the bristle blossoms. So bristles need light. So anything above 200, they need water at 20 kilograms per cycle and 6 cycles to ripen. Each plant yields 160 calories raw or 2,000 calories cooked as gristleberry, which reminds me, I believe you also get a morale bonus off of the gristleberry. Regardless, if you average this across a 6-cycle timer, a cooked plant contributes 333 calories a cycle. Duplicates need about 1,000 calories per cycle, so 3 plants feed 1 dupe on cooked berries. So how many blossoms can the pod light support without any lamps? So conservative, repeatable builds that I can see fit 15 blossoms around the pod using only its light. I've read some community experiments that claim to have pushed this to 17 to 21 with window kind of tile trickery and awkward layouts. But for the sake of this comparison, we're just going to assume 15 for our planning. Now, if you don't use the pod for the farm, you would need around 2 to 3 ceiling lights to cover the area. Each lamp is 10 watts and creates plus 0.5 kDTUs in heat. So 2 to 3 lamps, that's 20 to 30 watts continuous, and plus 1 to 1.5 kDTUs of heat sitting in potentially your starter core 24/7 unless you automate it. The pod's light, though, obviously is free and heatless. So early heat creep right next to farm, could potentially stifle growth and force you into some, kind of messy cooling early game. Now, if we compare both of these options, the farm versus the research, under, side by side on the same yardstick, the research under pod light saves, like we said, 0.75 seconds a point. Your first 150 to 200 points, that's 2 to 2.5 minutes saved in total research time. Now, that's real, but I think that's relatively small. But for a pod farm, 5,000 calories a cycle, with 0 watts in lighting cost, 0 lamp heat to get the same output elsewhere, that you would have to make 20 to 30 watts of lamp power plus 1 to 1.5 of heat. And then you would have to manage that basically every cycle, right? So basically, if we translate lamp heat, the 1 and 1.5 to extra work, you're basically trading a couple minutes of research time for continuous thermal load and wiring right in your cramped spawn zone. Plus, you have to add the existential risk of food wobble if you delay stable calories. Now, I understand there are edge cases where research first might make sense. If your map forces an immediate tech sprint that can't wait, for example, you must grab sanitation or insulation right away. Or maybe your water for bristles is temporarily not hookupable. But even then, remember, you get the same plus 5% by placing one lamp over the station anywhere else on the map. So really, you could argue that the pod's light is best reserved for the farm, strictly from ROI perspective. Now, you could still put the research stations close to the printing pod simply from the decor bonus. That could be something that's viable. But I definitely think from my math and what I've seen, using the printing pod's light for the Bristle Blossom or the Bristle Farm gives you, that 4 to 5 dupes worth of food with 0 lamp power and 0 lamp heat. And because the research lighting bonus is only plus 5% on buildings because of the hidden plus 200% base, which nets out to the 0.75 saved per point, which usually equates to maybe a minute or two across early game tech. You can recreate this with a single 10-watt lamp anywhere. Food stability, on the other hand, is paying every cycle. Just to be clear, if you ask the paid version of ChatGPT and Google Gemini to do deep research on this topic, they will both tell you hands down that they believe that the Bristle Blossom farm around the printing pod early game is by far the best option, according to them. At the end of the day, what you want to do with your colony, is all relative to what's fun for you and whatever you're feeling in the moment. But I wanted to go over the numbers with everybody. So, just for fun, so that we could really have a look at the trade-offs of the two different systems. But thanks for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section, of course. And I apologize if I made any calculative errors. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.